All right, great. So I'm all set up over here. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks for whoever's been tuning in. Uh, what I wanted to go over today was how do you set up Artifact on Tabletop Simulator so that it goes as quickly as possible and as streamlined as possible? Because one of the things that I was running into, especially with my playtest yesterday, was that hold on, let me turn off my air conditioner real quick. It's really, really loud. There we go. All right, as I was saying, the reason why I'm streaming right now is because in my playtest with Tabletop Simulator, trying to emulate Artifact and what we know about it thus far, it's really, really clunky if you don't do some quality of life optimizations. You can really significantly reduce the amount of time it takes to play a game if you go through this tutorial. I really quickly wrote out some notes for myself so that we could really address every single thing that you need to do on the board and your deck to make it as seamless of an experience as possible when you're playing with your friends or playing with yourself uh, in preparation for when the game releases in November, or if you're lucky enough to get a beta invite. If you go to PAX or TI8, if you've gone to PAX or TI8 and you got a beta key, that is supposedly available in October, as well as $1 million tournament. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. And the purpose of this again is to start from beginning to end, setting up your tabletop simulator to make your artifact as seamless as possible whenever you're playing on it. So first thing you're gonna want to do is pay for Tabletop Simulator, download the game on Steam. After you have that installed, go to the Steam Workshop and you're going to want to search for Artifact Dota card game. I believe it's Artifact Dash Dota card game. There's a mod there. Hit the green subscribe button and it'll automatically be attached to your tabletop simulator game as a mod. Load up that game on Steam and you're going to come to this splash introductions page. From there, what you're going to want to do is go to create and single player. And you'll see here next to workshop artifact dash Dota card game. Click on that, load. And if you watch the video of me streaming last night, you'll immediately notice I'm going to be doing a lot of the stuff up front right now, just so that we don't have to deal with it in the middle of a game. Because if you're like me and you like to learn as you go, it's extremely inefficient. And so hopefully the people who are watching this won't have to go through some of those those mistakes like I did. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do is set up your players, because as it is, it's going to go on one side of the board is red and one side of the board is green. And that seems good, but not really, because every single time you click over here, it's going to flip the board. It takes a really long time. And you just want the same orientation, same top down, so that you can flip everything to face one direction. It makes it a lot more easy to play. So in order to do that, what you're going to want to do is go to zone, go to hands, delete this just by clicking on it, left click. And I'm going to make this zone over here for green. And then I'm going to make another zone over here for the second player, which will be, let's just say, blue. Then let's get rid of this red by left clicking on it and then go back to your grab button. So now when we change colors, your orientation is going to be the same direction regardless. And the reason why that's super useful is because when you have colors and players set up, you can just either drag to the bottom of your screen or you drag into your hand zone, and it's going to attach there so that it's really easy to swap between players' hands. And it makes it easier for you if you're trying to train against yourself. You might be able to fake yourself out and try to forget what the other hand is, and this is a good way of doing that. So let's get rid of these cards here. Let's get rid of this here. So that is all it takes to set up the player zones and the player colors. Let's go back to green here. Second thing we're going to want to do is go to board setup, Um, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. What I mean is you're going to want to set up the board. First thing that you're going to want to do is sort out your items. So in the game, there's three different types of items. One that are items that are exclusive to the secret shop. Then there's consumables, and then there's your core items that you can include as part of your deck. There's a lot of speculation as to how many you can include. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do it. You can have one of each type in your core item. So first, let's set aside these consumables. There's speculation as to what is inside of the secret shop. This is one of them. This one as well. And something you're going to notice throughout this video is that you're going to have to create house rules for a couple of these things based on what you think is going to be the most accurate to how the game is going to play out when it eventually releases. We're going to get a lot more information next week from PAX, but until then, you're going to have to do some speculation on your part on how the rules will be. And part of that is guessing which ones are secret shop exclusive items. So the way that I play is with these. You also have a golden ticket that is a really strong thing where you get a random item from the secret shop. That should not be part of your regular consumables. I also include this. So excuse me. Some of the cards tend to blend once you've been looking at them for too long. So the four that I selected before aren't the consumables. These two. It's Potion of Knowledge and let's see here. Oh, of course. Town Portal Scroll. From here, what else is there? Okay, great. So, oops, let's get that out of there. Shit. You can press this rewind time, or you can press Control Z to go back in 10 seconds. So it's not a strict undo your last action. It can get very annoying, so be prepared to be frustrated at first, but you'll eventually get used to it. So let's sort these out here. Let me mute my phone real quick. All right. So just double checking, these would be the normal items. These would be the secret shop exclusive items, and these are your consumables. So let's put that back down here. Okay, so your items are set up properly. Now you're going to want to drag out some other items that are going to be really, really useful. So all different color D6s. You're going to want one of each of these. You can highlight them, shake them so they group up, or drop them. And then what you're going to want to do is while they're all selected, right click and ungrid. That's going to be super important because if you leave the grid on, it's going to snap to places on the card that you don't want it to because there's going to be situations where we want multiple dice on the same card to represent modified health, armor, and attack. So just make sure you ungrid it. That's it. That's a huge point that I was struggling with a lot. Then what you're going to want to do is take this D20, copy it 3 times, and you're going to want to set the tint. So how I like to do it is red is attack, black is armor, and green is health. So make sure that this is ungridded, and then you want to go to color tint, and let's make this red. Great. Let's make this black. Okay. Let's make this green. Oops. There we go. Great. So there's your dice there for attack, armor, health. You have the other ones that you're eventually going to want to set up, but we'll get to that when we get to that. What else is there? And then there's one other type of thing that I like to set, and it's for Luna's skill where she gets stacks of lucent beams for her eclipse. So how I like to represent that, you can go ahead and figure out your own way, but me personally, I like to go to piece pack, go here, and I'll get one of each. And if you get more like than 5 stacks, I'll just double up over here. Let's rotate these using the E. You can change the amount that you rotate based on this. So I like setting it at 90, which is the most you can. And let's ungrid this because fuck grids. And let's scale this down so it's not so obnoxious. Put this over here. Put this over here. Put this over here. Great. So those are my supporting pieces for now. And okay, so we've ungridded them. Now let's make a white dice at each lane for RNG purposes. You'll find that a six-sided dice works really, really well in a lot of the situations that you're going to encounter when you're trying to emulate how the game is going to work. So we have that. Get a direction stack in each lane. So I'm not going to go over exactly how to play Artifact because that can be another video in itself and I want to keep this lean, but directions are a big part of how Artifact works and you're going to want one in each lane. So stack these up. Let's put it over here. Let's put it over here. Let's put it over here. You're going to want to left click and hold to select group objects. Let's make this nice and tidy. Let's ungrid this. Oh, it is ungrid. Good. Set this over here. This can be a reserve. Let's put that over here. Okay, great. And then let's put this over here. So we have a stack for directional rolls for RNG, and if you ever want to actually do that, you just hover over it and press R. That's randomize. So that's going to come in really, really handy. A lot of people like to, what I've seen is a lot of people like to roll a dice for it or use this dice right here. I don't really like doing that. This is a lot faster. Okay, we're going to want to copy one of these just in case. So let's just do that over here. Set that aside. Okay. And then we're going to want to rotate the towers up here so that they're facing us. So just hover over it. E for rotating clockwise. Let's rotate this as well. Okay, great. Now the board is all set up. Let's set up our cards. So in order to set up the shop, the order is left is your secret shop stash. The middle is your core items that you included into your deck when you were deck building. And this is a random consumable deck. So let's go and do that. Make sure that you don't drag over any of these over here without copying. This is your master, so don't mess with this. Let's copy. Make sure you click somewhere so it's unselected. There you go. And what you're going to do is highlight, press G to group, F to flip. Put it in that slot so that whenever we need to draw, we just hover and press R and we can shuffle it. Now, the speculation right now for Secret Shop is that it includes one of every type of item. So we're just going to go ahead and play it that way. So here we go. Let's copy this. Some people like to play that there's no consumables in that. I'm going to go ahead and, for simplicity's sake, and say that it includes everything. Make sure you left click so that this is no longer selected. This big empty space here. Hold on 1 second. Accidentally exit out of my notes. Okay, so we go here. Ooh, this is a good opportunity to use rewind. That wasn't very good. Let's copy again, unselect. Let's go over here. Fuck me. And you can see how it can be kind of frustrating if you don't do it correctly, and that's because two of the cards landed into that card zone. So let's go over here. Let's get these out of here. Let's get this out of here. And the idea is to make sure you don't highlight here, group these. Oh my God. So frustrating sometimes. And you can only imagine how this is a little snapshot on how frustrating it is to play this game on Tabletop Simulator if you don't do some of these optimizations up front. So let's group all this together. There we go. Flip it, randomize it for good measure. Let's drag and drop that over here. And then, that being said, I want to note Tabletop Simulator is a really, really great program, and it's amazing that we can even do this based on the limited information that we have on Artifact, and while still respecting the NDA and not wanting to leak anything that's not already leaked. So, props to whoever made this app and props to whoever made this mod, because without this, I would still be playing on paper Artifact, and that is that's extremely frustrating. So let's copy this. Oh, sorry, this is your secret shop exclusive. So you want to copy this for your core deck. Make sure you click somewhere over here, highlight, group, flip, rotate. Let's put it over here. And again, the way that I play my house rules is everything is part of the secret shop stack. You get one of each of these normal ones for your core item stack. Realistically, you're going to have to pick and choose which ones you want to include in your deck. So you might include 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't know the exact numbers yet. This is unrealistic, but for the sake of practice, you're going to want to expose yourself to all these different cards anyways and get used to seeing how they interact in the game. And this one is just for your consumables. So once you've done that, let's go ahead and copy this. Click to unselect, paste that here. Let's, okay. So this is 12, this is 12. Okay, good. So we're still the same. Click and hold, drag there. Great. So now we have our shop set up. Now let's do our camera setup. And this is something that I feel like is going to really, really boost the speed of your gameplay. Oh, what's up, Silver? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Uh, just trying to go over some of the optimizations. And hey, Bobby, how's it going? Doing some of the optimizations that we should have done yesterday, so that in future playtests and scrims, we're going to have a really, really seamless experience trying to emulate Artifact on Tabletop Simulator. So we've got all this done. Now let's set up our cameras. So the hotkey for that is to save camera, you want to do Control and then the 1. And then for load camera, you want to do Shift and 1. So the cameras that I want to save right now is let's go to camera mode, top down. Ooh, that's really extreme. Let's zoom in a bit here. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, great. So that's an all-inclusive view for you. Let's do Control 1 to save that camera. And then for lane 1, let's do its own little camera setup. So this is good enough. Yeah, that's fine. Or do we want to do third person? Let's see here. Camera mode third person. Nah, let's do top down. Okay, let's do that as Control 2. Move over. Control 3. Lane 3. Let's do Control 4. So we have our board, our lanes, and then I will also want to do it for the shop. So let's do Control 5. Let's do Control 6. All right, so now if I do Shift 1, I'm going to see the board, Shift 2, lane 1, Shift 3, lane 2, Shift 4, lane 3, Shift 5, shop Radiant, shop, or Shift 6, Dire shop. Okay, that's it for the camera setup. Then our deck setup. So if you already know how to set up your deck or you have, this is where you're going to want to stop and go ahead and start playing. These are all the sort of the hard setups for the board to make sure that, I mean, yesterday when I was playing and it was my first real full playthrough against someone else in Twitch chat, it took about 5 hours. If you do this, it's probably going to chip that down to 3, and then as you keep playing, it's going to chip down to 2 hours, 1 hour. I can imagine, certain games, if you're going aggro v aggro, you can play it on Tabletop Simulator and get done with it in less than an hour if you're really, really sick at camera control and getting all the direction, RNG down, and all that stuff. So, with that said, let's move on. Let's go ahead and build a deck so that we can do a sample round. I for simplistic for like simple deck building reasons, let's just put together a shitty deck. Let's just do one of this. Let's just do one of this. Let's do one of this, one of this. And again, I'm highlighting Control C, Control V. These I'm going to group. Okay, that are those are the heroes for the red-green deck. That's going to represent Dire. Of course, when you build your own deck, you can do whatever you want. And then for my 5 heroes down in Radiant, I'm going to do this. Let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that. Great. Group. Put it over here. Let's put it over towards the middle because we're eventually going to want to start the game. And then the way that I've been doing it is because we haven't confirmed just how many cards that you need in your deck, sources have been saying that you need a minimum of 40 and you can go past 40. And you need a minimum you're if you choose a hero, you're going to get 3 of its signature spells automatically appended to your deck. So 5 heroes, 3 spells each, that's going to be 15. So 15 plus 5, that's 20. I'm not sure if heroes are included in your deck, but let's just say they aren't. And then you can have anywhere from 0 to 3 of each card in your deck. I'm just going to do, for simplicity's sake, 3 of each signature spell and 2 of every single other one. So an easy way to do that is let's highlight all the blue. Let's build this bottom deck first. So let's move this, have a nice little working space here. Actually, the working space is better up here because you might interfere with these hand slots. So let's copy this. Let's just make 2 copies. Oop, oopsies. Let's rewind that. Okay. Again, and be careful of the edges. Let's group these. Okay, so that's 2 of each, and you got to remember, add in that third of the signature spell. So you can see the signature spell because it has that little icon here. So this is specific to Zeus. So let's get one more of this over here. This is specific to Luna. Let's get one more of these. And this one is specific to CM. Let's get one of those. Group them up, append it to your deck. All right, all of our blues are ready. Let's do our blacks. Let's do it here. Set this aside real quick. What the hell happened to this? Why is it doing this? That's so weird. Okay, well, there's an easy solution to this. I must have accidentally had this selected. And again, this is why we're doing these optimizations so that we don't have to run into this during our game. So that's easy fix right there. Click and hold over here. Great. Let's reset up this. Make sure you're not selecting anything. 1, 2, group these. And then let's just click on that. 1, 2, 3. Group these. So these will be your signatures. Make sure you have 3 of each. Okay, let's do our blacks. Group these. Then look for your signature spells. 1 second. I actually regret turning off my air conditioner. It's really, really hot in California right now. At the same time, I don't want it to be too loud. Hopefully, shit, why is it so loud? Damn. Um, Whatever, we'll live with it. I gotta make sure I don't have a heat stroke here. So what just happened here? We grouped that. Okay, great. So what was this? 5, 8. Okay, so that's 2 of each. And then this one is a hero specific spell. This one is a hero specific spell. Great. Let's group that. Append it to our black cards. And then we're gonna group these up here. That is your deck. So slip that, set it aside to here. And we can set it aside here. You can figure out where you're most comfortable with it, but let's do that. And then we're going to do the same thing for red and green. So copy, group, look for hero specific spells. 1, 2. This is not a Legion Commander specific one, so let's get this. Group, add that to here, and then let's do our greens. 1, make sure this doesn't interfere. Let's do 2. Then you could probably make it easier here. I didn't have much time to prepare for this, so there's going to be optimizations on top of these optimizations, such as this. You don't have to go all the way back over here. You just do it over here. 1, 2. Okay, let's group these. Flip, flip. All right, so that's going to be our red-green deck over here. Okay, great. Let's move this up over here. So we have our deck set up, which is a hypothetical deck, 2 of each. Again, this is not very accurate at this point, but we got to work with what we have, right? Now we have to set up the heroes, and now we're getting really, really close to starting the game. So you can set the orders in which you deploy. So for example, if I know that if I think that Zeus is not going to be useful in that first deployment phase where you only have one of each hero in each lane, I could set that to the end so that he'd be a late game guy. Let's say I don't think I'm going to be able to take advantage of this PA up front or something like that. Hypothetically, I can set it to here. So this could be my order in which these two would then be over in my fountain, and these would be getting ready to deploy for that first round. And then for this, let's just say I take these 3 for simplicity's sake, and these 2 I don't want to be deployed yet. So I'll put that over my fountain. Oh, don't drop. There we go. And uh, make sure that you know the order in which it's going to deploy. So let's do that. PA is going to deploy first, then Zeus. Round 2, this will deploy. Round 3, this will deploy. And one more thing that you're going to want to have to do, I like to use checker markers. You want a white checker marker because let's take a look at Rick's real quick. Rick's has a continuous effect called rapid deployment. Usually, when heroes die, you need to have a whole round go uh, be executed before you can actually deploy again. Whereas rapid deployment, you can deploy onto the very next round, even if Rick's died. Let's say he died over in lane 3 and he dies. Normally, you would have to wait for the entire cycle and then deploy. Whereas Rick's, if he dies here, he's going to be able to deploy, aka spawn and go to a lane immediately after death. So that's pretty critical. I won't go into the nuances of that, but I'm sure you can figure it out for yourself. So let's just say these 3 are the ones that I want to deploy at first, and then these would be randomly distributed. We'll go into that in a second. Before we do that, we're going to want to set up our creeps. So in the first round, you're gonna have 3 creeps. So let's make 3 of these of each. Great. And now what you're gonna have to do is in this order, you're going to want to roll for the creeps first and then roll for the heroes after that. So, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's roll for the radiant creeps first. You hover over the dice, and then so this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one goes over here. Hold on, we got a couple questions in chat. Yeah, we're pretty sure that it's 40 plus, with 40 being the required minimum, and the wording on what you get for $20 points towards heroes not being counted in the card decks. Okay, great. So chances are you're going to have a technical minimum of 45 cards per deck, because 5 of those will be heroes and 40 of those will be spells. Pano says, is setting the hero order a per game mechanic like a mulligan, or is it part of how your deck is built? Didn't notice it in the videos. That I'm not sure about. Again, although we know maybe 70% of the mechanics, a lot of these nuances we're going to have to wait until we see some of those playtests in packs in a couple of days. In the meantime, I'll probably end up making another video right after PAX so that we can refigure out how to best play it on Tabletop Simulator. But for now, I'm pretty sure I don't know. I don't have an answer for you in terms of mulliganing, or is on a per game basis, or if it's a set thing that you do uh, when you're building the deck. So back to setting up the game. Again, you're gonna want 3 at the beginning of each type of creep, and then every subsequent round only has 2 creeps to randomly deploy. So this one, when you roll for these, I like to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's re-roll this. This creep is gonna stay in this lane. This creep will be in this lane because it's a 5, and this creep will also be in here. So we're gonna have 2 creeps in lane 2 and 1 creep in lane 3 on the radiant side. And then for the Dire, let's roll. Let's go ahead and use my camera settings. There we go. That's why that's useful. So 6. Let's roll again. 1. Roll again for this. 1. Okay, great. Now let's roll for where the heroes are gonna go. Are gonna go. Excuse me. So let's roll for CM. She's gonna be in this lane. Sorla Khan is gonna stay in this lane. And Luna is going to be in this lane. Okay, great. And then we're going to do the same thing for these heroes. Oh, excuse me, that's wrong, because you can only have 1 hero in each lane. So we're going to re-roll for this one. Deduction, of course. This one will thus be in this lane. And this will be here. Rix will go here. And of course, that means that Bristleback will be in lane 2. And the reason why I don't use mid lane is because then it gets confusing. Is this west lane? Is this east lane, top, bot? I think the formal terminology is lane 1, lane 2, lane 3. So I'm going to go ahead and stick to that. So now we have our heroes and our creeps distributed in the lane. And the reason why that's important to do in that order is because the way that we most accurately emulate how Artifact works on an RNG side is the side that has the most. Let's go ahead and use the camera here. The side that has the most units at deployment is going to be set first, and then the blockers, as in and blocking is a term where it's the direct opposite. So these two are blocking each other, whereas these two don't have blockers. So what you would want to do is set the majority first, and then you set the blockers. So let's roll for this. Let's group these together. Let's flip them, rotate, and let's just go ahead and put it this way, right? So flip, flip, flip. All right, and then we're going to set the blocker. So for this, we are going to roll 1, 2 for this, 3, 4 for this, 5, 6 for this. Okay, and just so you know, this very first deployment phase, you're not going to be uh, rolling for direction, which I'll get to once we do a full round. on the initial deployment phase, people are always just attacking straight. So these two are now attacking my tower unless I can do something about it, and these are matched up against each other. So let's go ahead and do the same process over here. This has 3, so Radiant will go first here, and Bristleblack will be blocking. So let's flip this with F, randomize with R. Let's set these out here. Flip, okay. And then let's roll for Bristleback. So number 2, he's going to go in here. Great. Let's put this dice back here. Let's go to lane 3. So it's 2-2. So in that situation, let's just randomize. Get out of there. Oh, flip, rotate, flip, rotate, or randomize rather, and then we'll flip. Okay, great. So our first deployment phase has been done. Again, 3 creeps on the initial deployment phase, 2 for every subsequent round. And that is it. We're ready to play after we draw a card. So on the first one, you would get 5 cards. So let's go ahead and draw 5. Well, first you want to randomize it. So randomize, let's draw 5. Let's put this checkers coin over where it's supposed to be. Let's put it over here and let's ungrid these 2. Okay, great. I have 5 cards. These are going to flip. Let's put it into my hand. Great. And then for Radiant, or for Dire rather, let's go ahead and switch sides. And you know what? Let's change this to red. Let's change that to red. 1 second. Zone, hands, right click red. There we go. Change color to red. Okay, great. So now green will be Radiant, red will be Dire. Let's go ahead and randomize and draw for red his or her 5 cards. Flip and bring it into your deck by either dragging it into your hand zone or dragging it. Dang it. What the fuck just happened? Oh, okay, here we go. There we go. So now let's go back to Radiant. These are my cards, and whenever we want to see here, let's have red. And one more thing that I messed up on, or missed rather, is making sure that you have some sort of token to represent whose initiative it is or whose turn it is. So let me add that to my notes because what I'm going to do after this is show my notes on the screen so that you could pause it and have a detailed step-by-step way of setting this up for yourself whenever you decide to start playing. So under bring out extra pieces, I'm going to add turn indicator token. And let's go ahead and grab whatever we think is coolest. So I like metal chess pieces. Let's do a king. All right. So actually that's too easy to miss. Let's delete that. Let's use a rook. That seems to be working pretty well. Actually, that's a little bit too easy to mess up. Pawn? Queen? They're all so angular. Why don't we do cool marble maybe? Nah. Let's just go with sure, why not? All right. So this green triangle again, you can really choose whatever you want. Will indicate turn. I've heard that Radiant always gets initiative first. I've also heard that you flip for it. I want to just keep it fair, so let's flip for it. 1, 2, 3 would be here, 4, 5, 6 would be here. So I'll have initiative. And how that works, and it's worth stating here, even though it's a setup video, is that someone will start, and if you pass, let's say I pass here and he passes, I'm gonna get initiative on this turn, as in I get to go first. And how initiative is passed from lane to lane is the person who has last played an action, as in one of these cards, or played an item or whatever, right? If you're playing a card or you're casting a spell, you lose initiative. So let's say Dyer decides to cast one of his spells and I choose to pass and then he passes, because in order to go to the next lane, you have to have two passes in a row. Because he's the last one to cast a spell, I'm going to get initiative when we go to lane 2. But for now, let's go back to this lane, and I have initiative over here. So let me take a pause here and make sure that I have everything set up before we go into a example round. I think that should be it. So if you're just here to watch for how to set up the board, you can go ahead and stop now and start playing your game. If you don't know how to play Artifact yet and you don't know about the rules, I'm going to go ahead and review them in this example round so that you can get to understand them a little bit better before you play. So that's the deployment phase, which is getting out your in the initial phase, in the initial deployment phase, you're gonna have your heroes, your creeps, 3 creeps instead of 2, and you're gonna draw 5 cards. Every subsequent deployment phase, you're only gonna have 2 creeps and you're only gonna draw 2 additional cards. So after the deployment phase is the action phase, and that's comprised of two micro phases within that. One is the action phase where you're playing cards back and forth and passing, if you decide not to do anything. And then there's the combat phase, which is they clash simultaneously, and you're going to deal damage. So in this situation, let's say we didn't cast anything. These two would be attacking the tower directly, and this would go down to 36. This Luna would be attacking here. This Chen would have 6 health, and then Chen would be dealing 4 damage directly to Luna, and Luna would have 4 health. But there are certain situations where you don't want to go into the action phase yet. One of those examples is Luna. So let's take a look at what this card entails. Luna has a Lucent Beam reactive ability that says before the action phase, deal 1 piercing damage as it ignores armor to a random enemy and add a charge to each Eclipse card in your hand or deck. So these charges are not specific to Luna. If she dies, you keep those charges. They're attached to the Eclipse card. So let's go ahead and deal 1 damage and let's roll for it. And she starts with 1 charge. So let's go ahead and copy that. That is a representation of 1, but we don't really need to copy that because we know we're going to get 2 after this happens. Let's put that over here. So we know that there's 2 charges after we do this. 1, 2 is this, 3, 4 is this, 5, 6 is this. And you're going to see this over and over. You're either going to roll a d4 or a d6 or a d10. Just make sure that you use the right dice for it. So sometimes if let's say I need a 1 in 4 chance, I'll roll the d6 and just ignore any 5 or 6 that comes up, because I really don't like this janky little d4. I don't really know how these numbers work. So it's easier to do 4s with the d6 if you're a plebeian like I am. So we rolled a 1. That means that this is going to take 1 damage, and this is a good way to show how I like to represent health. Let's go ahead and copy one of these d20s. I've dealt 1 damage to this, and we can just hover over. It normally has 4 health. Now it has 3. You just hover over and press 3. Hello? I think I just needed to re-plug it in. How's this going right now? Chat, let me know if you can hear me again. I should be working though. I see it on OBS. Wonderful. Okay, all I had to do was plug it in, and I bought these HyperX Cloud 2s yesterday just so because I had never streamed before and I was super excited about Artifact, so I figured I might as well spread the love. And these headphones have impeccable reviews, so don't let this, if you're in the market, I have had really good experiences in the last 24 hours with this headphone. This is the first time it's ever hiccup, and I don't foresee that happening again. So let's get back to it. I don't know where we last left off, so I'm just going to do a quick 2-second overview of what happened. I can't cast any spells here because I don't have any black heroes in this lane, and this is a 4 mana spell, and I only have 3 mana here. So I'm gonna pass. I had initiative, and I still do if he passes. I pass the turn over to him, and now let's go over what he can do. So right off the bat, he doesn't have any red heroes, so he can only do green heroes, green spells rather. And 8/8 is too much, so you can only really play this Rebel Decoy. So Uh, strategically, I'm not really sure if that's sound. I'm not really going to think about it. Let's just, for the sake of this tutorial, let's just go ahead and play it. What you're going to want to do, and what I believe we've been playing so far, is if you have a singular summon, as in a not a flood of new creeps, you can go ahead and choose which slot you want it to take. So you have the option of playing this and putting it over here or putting it over here. So let's just say I decide to put it over here and I'm the Dire, I'm playing as Dire. Let's take a look at what that does. Active 1, swap Rebel Decoy with another ally. That's pretty awesome. So turn goes to me because he played a card. We won't cast that spell right now for simplicity's sake. So I skip again. Let's say he skips again. And if you're trying to be really good about keeping track of everything, because later on in the later rounds you kind of want to do that. If you want to use up your mana, just press F and flip them, and you can unflip them later. So let's go through the motions and flip those. He's used his mana in this lane. I skip, he skips, I get initiative because he was the last person to play an action. So before we do that, we're going to do the combat phase, which is they clash. So again, let's do the blockers first. So this guy, or this Luna, is going to have a 4. This is really frustrating me. I don't know why it's not allowing me to do it. So let's just go ahead and, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let's get a D6 green for now. And we're going to do that on, excuse me, this is 4 because he dealt 4 damage to this. And then Luna is going to deal 3 damage to this 9. So this is going to be 6. There we go. The remaining will be attacking the tower. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. This now has 34 HP. Then we're going to go over to lane 2 and repeat that same process. So first, we're going to check for any exceptions to beginning the action phase. We don't have any Lunas here. I haven't run into any other heroes that do that. So most of the time, you're going to want to just start the action phase. Action's on me, so I would switch back. And this is kind of a same situation where I can't cast this blue spell, but now I have 2 spells that I could cast. And this is an opportunity to show off what the alt does. So if you hover over any card and you press alt, or really any item, you got to zoom in on it. So I could play 2 cards, and they are the same type of card, just different names. So theoretically, I could double my gold twice, so 0 times 2 would be 0. If I was retarded, then excuse me, that's actually not the right word to use because that's hateful. If I was like, not really thinking correctly, then I would use these two right now, or use one of them rather, but there's no use to that, so I'm gonna skip the turn. Let's go back to lane 2 view. Let's look at my options. I have one option, which is to choose an ally, choose a combat target for it. So that wouldn't really apply here because I don't have, as Dire, I don't have any other allies to set it. I mean, I could make it so that I could use new orders, cast it on this bristleback, and then I can choose for it to target this Sorla Khan. I mean, that would be a decent move. I mean, it really depends on what your strategy is, if you want to get rid of them early or if you want to save this, because these types of cards can be really useful later on as well. So, you know what? This is a good opportunity to show off how to do a mechanic in Tabletop Simulator. So let's go ahead and cast this. We're going to expend, we're going to use 1 mana, and we're going to choose a target for it. So let's just say that it's going to, we're going to want to change this to 15. I'm pressing Q here. So there's different ways to interpret this card. You could be like, oh, you want to choose a combat target for it, so you change the direction. Or it could be that, let's say I wanted to choose this hypothetically. I could be attacking that. Or it could be that I like switch it over to here. And I don't know if Silver or Bobby or anyone else in the chat has any insight on that, but uh, the way that I was playing was that you would just choose an ally, choose a combat target for it. I believe the way that I was playing was that you can change the direction. I can't remember exactly, but it's up to your interpretation, or there might have been some videos from the two released videos from Eurogamer or PC Gamer or whatever that shows that interaction. For now, what I'm going to do is change it so that it will attack the Sorlakan directionally, but keep its position on the board. So this is a graveyard area. And then action is now on me. He uses 1 mana. Okay, great. So let's go back to my cards. We assume that, so Silver says, we assume you can just pick one of the neighbors and immediately fight it. Okay, that's a good assumption. So let's go back to here and redo that interaction. So let's flip this back because, again, you don't want to be too liberal about how you're changing directions because direction is so important in this game. So we're going to assume that you choose an ally and choose a combat target for it. Let's just assume that I choose this and they're gonna go in direct battle right now. This is technically over here. So this Sorlakan, I think I saw a vid where it keeps position and just points to a different target. Interesting. If that is true, it's going to be interesting because let's say I hypothetically chose this creep over here as a target. Does it just really go all the way over like that? But that seems a little bit iffy to me. So let's just go with Silver's interpretation for now, which is that you get to immediately battle it. So let's choose a combat target and immediately engage in battle. And I choose this Sorlakan because I know that I'm going to kill it, but it cannot kill me. So same logic. Bristleback is going to get 4 health remaining out of the 12 because Sorlakan does 8 damage, and Sorlakan is now dead. So how does that work? Sorlakan does not have rapid deployment. So the way that I like to represent that is it has 2 coins, meaning it has 2 rounds before it can deploy. Once this round is over, you're going to get rid of one of these chips, and then once that round is over, you get rid of this and you know that it's ready to spawn. So for now, let's go over here. And these don't have chips on it because this is the deployment order from these are going to deploy no matter what because they haven't died. They're just waiting their turn to deploy in round 2 and round 3. And then in Artifact, when you kill a creep, you get 1 gold, and when you kill a hero, you get 5 gold. So Dire would get 5 gold. Okay, great. This would go into the graveyard for organizational purposes. And let's take a look at this reactability. Modify Bristleback with +2 armor after a hero blocking it dies. This hero was not blocking him, so he does not get that modified +2 armor actions back on me. I'm going to take a look at this. I choose to pass again because first of all, I don't even have a hero here anymore, so I can't cast these anymore. So I pass again. And of course, he has to pass 2, he or she. So I'll have initiative on the next round because he was the last person. I keep saying he or she, and I'm trying to get rid of that just because I don't like to assume he. I've noticed that that's something that a lot of people do, and I'm trying to get away from that. So they, we'll use they. They were the last person to use a action, so I will have initiative on the next turn. Because of that, we're going to go into the combat phase. So again, they clash. Bristleback now has a 2. This is deleted. He gets 1 gold. And this creep would attack the tower for 2 damage. And now we're going to go over to lane 3. Same idea. So, lane 3. I can only cast blue spells, and this is too much mana, so of course I pass. I pass again. Initiative is going to be on me because that's 2 passes in a row, and he was the last person to use they were the last person to use a spell, so we're going to go back to lane 1 eventually, and I'll have initiative there. That means that we're going to go straight into the combat phase. So the CM is not going to be dealing much damage. It's 5. This is a 2. These 2 each do 2 damage. And again, I'm hovering over the dice and just pressing whatever I want. Okay, great. So that was a full laning phase. And now we're going to go into the final phase, which is the shopping phase. So the way I like to do it is the person with more gold goes first just because it's more interesting. And I can't even buy anything here, but we'll go ahead and go through the motions just to see how that looks like. So Dire Shop for me is shift 6, and we're going to randomize, 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 and flip, flip, flip. So these are their options right now. 6 gold. The only one that they can really buy is the healing salve. They're probably not going to want to buy this right now. Gold is really, really valuable, especially early, and it doesn't seem like. I mean, what they could do is buy this and then heal up this bristleback. That might be a viable option. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and buy it. Just to do it. So we're gonna buy it. You're gonna randomize again to see what comes next. You can't They can't buy it because they only have 3 gold left. This is gonna be added to their deck, and they don't immediately use it. They have to use it as an action in turn in lane. So, and also another limitation that has been speculated is you're only allowed to buy multiple items from the core item deck that you've included as part of your built deck. So I can't buy a consumable even if I wanted to because I've already purchased one. Same idea for Secret Shop. So let's say I had 8 gold and I bought this and I randomized this. I couldn't get this Potion of Knowledge. And one more thing to note, you notice how this is 3 right now? It should always be 4. I made the mistake of not copying, and that's something that's going to be really critical that you remember because that will ruin the entire game if you don't remember those little things. So I'm going to copy, put that back, and put this in the hand. So this is now back at 4. Let's flip these, randomize just for good measure. And then let's change, go back to here. And let's go to Radiant Shop. Same idea, randomize, 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 flip, flip, flip. I can't buy anything, so, okay. That is your first full round. I'm not going to go into another second round just because I want to take a little break, but let's go ahead and do the second round deployment phase because it's a little bit different from the initial phase. So now, who's going to be deployed? PA is going to be deployed, and Legion Commander is going to be deployed. We don't know quite yet because we need to do the creeps first. So we have two here, or we have two ready to deploy. Two ready to deploy. And you're going to want to do the creeps first because you are allowed to see where the creeps have been randomly deployed amongst the 3 lanes before you choose where you deploy your hero. So let's roll for these. For Dire, this first creep, gonna go to lane 3. The second creep, gonna go to lane 3 also. Promising for Dire. Okay, and for the Radiant, 1, lane 3. Okay, so at this point in the game, you know, the 2 players would see that these creeps are going to these lanes, and from there I would decide. So I'm not going to give it too much thought. Let's just say I decide to go here, and they decide to go. They can either decide to flood this board, or they might want to try to get 2 towers, this one and this one, or whatever. There's a lot of different ways you could play this. Let's just say I wanted to play over here. So same idea. You need to make sure that you do it based on blockers. So at this point, you would do the majority first. So right here, there's no additional units. This has 4. That means that you're rolling for blockers. So 1, 2 will be here. 3, 4 will be here. 5, 6 is over here. This is going to go right here. For this one, I'm not sure how this interacts. Does anyone in chat know, does this automatically block or does it stay so that it's here? I think it goes here because you don't want any spaces in between. So it would automatically shift over and it wouldn't be automatically blocking. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So we can go ahead and move that over to here. Okay, great. The arrows, okay. So I would deploy here. There needs to be something blocking this. So I can never randomly go here because as a rule, if there's blockers to be filled, you need to be filling them. So this would automatically deploy to here. And then for lane 3, if there's free space between them, they go closer to each other until they are diagonal neighbors. Okay, great. So that's correct. This was over here. Now they go closer together. And then there needs to be a blocker here. So PA gets slotted here. We don't roll for that. Lane 3, we have 2 and 2, but Radiant has 1 to deploy and Dire has 3. So what we're going to do is randomly deploy. So group them up together, flip, random, and we're going to flip. So, or we're going to roll for it. 1, 2, 3 is on the left, 4, 5, 6 is on the right. So this card is going to go over here. Same idea. 1 will go over here. 1 goes over here. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for this creep. Great. Okay, after you do the deployment of creeps and then heroes, and then where they are placed on the board, you're going to want to roll for directions. This is the first time we've seen this, and it's very, very critical. These have blockers, so they're automatically going to face up against each other. These two do not, This does not have a diagonal neighbor, so this is automatically going to attack the tower. So the only one that we have to roll for direction is this one right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's why we have this nifty little stack of directional cards over here. You don't have to flip it. I mean, it's going to randomize anyway. So facing this way, that means that this creep is going to attack this way, which means that it's really going to be attacking directly to the tower. So no change there. Let's say that it went this way, right? That's the one situation where it would attack this way. I would like to do it just like this. You just press E and rotate it so you know that it's going to be directionally attacking this for that round. Okay, so let's set it back to how it's supposed to be. I would RNG for this. So yes, this is going to be attacking Bristleback this round. And same idea here. So we would need to roll for these two. Oop. So this one is going to be attacking here. And this Legion Commander is going to be attacking this creep. Great. So now we're all set up. And then lastly, you got to remember randomize 2 cards per person. So let's flip them first. And then for this, we're going to randomize, flip, flip, add it to our deck. And now next turn, we're going to know that this is ready for deployment. This is also ready for deployment. And there you have it. So then you would go through the different phases again, but this time you want to make sure you copy a mana. Make sure every lane has 1 more mana. And there you go. That is how you play Artifact on Tabletop Simulator. So that took roughly an hour for me to go from start to finish. I think that there was a little bit of hiccups along the way with the mic and randomly figuring it out as I went. I think that if you were to watch this, you could probably get the initial board setup done in 10 minutes, maybe even less if you're really quick with it. And then afterwards, we went through a round in what, 10, 15 minutes. And so if you get good at controlling the camera, you get good at knowing how to do everything, you can get through a game in probably an hour, against yourself, against your friends, etc. Last thing I'm gonna do is before I go pee and take a break, I'm probably gonna after this, I'm gonna leave up the notes, take a piss, relax a little bit. But after this, I'm gonna go to artifactfire.com and just start theory crafting some decks until my partner comes home, and then I'm probably gonna hang out with her and grab some food. So I'm gonna put up these notes and let's make sure nothing confidential is being revealed right now. Let's zoom out a bit. Turn indicator token, white checker piece for respawn timer. That should be it. Player setup, board setup, card setup, camera setup, deck setup, hero setup, creep setup, lane setup. All right. So I'll go ahead and leave this up for a bit and I'll be right back.